Hi, I'm Joe BRENNA, Vice President of Customer Support at Intrepid Powerboats. We would like to introduce you to our 345 Valor. Today we will be explaining systems and operation of this vessel in our video owner's manual. It's important to keep in mind that this video is an overview. For maximum enjoyment and safe operation of your 345 Valor, we highly suggest watching this video and doing an in-depth study of the information in your owner's packet. We hope this will be a great tool to help you operate and safely enjoy your new Intrepid. We're at the helm of the 345 Valor. What we'll do now is explain systems and operation of all the equipment that we've installed in this boat. Let's start with the console switch panel. Now we're at the DC switch panel of this boat. This is what controls all the batteries and has the breakers for the various equipment that's installed. To energize the various DC switches, the first step is to slide down the cover that's over the rocker switch. The next step is to depress the LED switch. There will be a light that appears when the light is energized. Beneath these battery switches are individual breakers for all the appliances on this boat. If one of these pops out, that means it needs to be reset by pressing it back in. When your day of boating is over, or if you're going to leave the boat for more than a couple of hours, I always suggest that you turn off all the battery switches. To do that, you slide the black cover up over the part of the switch that says on, and depress the switch now where it says off. The red telltale LED light will turn off at that point. This indicates that your battery switches are de-energized. Please keep in mind that the generator and house loads are both connected to the same battery. These switches must both be in the on position to operate the generator. This boat's equipped with 5 batteries. They're all located beneath the console. Let me show you where they are. Once you've opened the forward seat on the console, you'll see 4 batteries. There's one for the port, starboard, and center engines, as well as the bow thruster there. The house battery is located under the starboard section of this forward seating. Under the cover for the battery box, you'll find a series of fuses that protect the circuits for battery charging. You'll find a spare fuse connected to each fuse holder for future use if necessary. For complete information on battery charging and the charger that we've installed, please refer to the owner's packet. We've enclosed a complete manual for the battery charger there. This boat is equipped with 3 automatic bilge pumps. 2 of the pumps and their automatic switches are located in the center aft bilge. These 2 pumps are operated in manual or automatic mode. The automatic mode is always energized, so you never have to worry about turning off your pumps when you are turning off your battery switches. The 3rd bilge pump on this boat is located in the machinery space that's accessible through the hatch that's forward of the console. There's also a switch for a high water alarm in this compartment. This will sound if the water level gets to the point where it trips the switch. If this should happen, you need to immediately figure out where the water's coming from. First, shut all seacocks, then determine source of the water. There are 3 switches for the bilge pumps on this boat. They're located on the panel that's on the port side of the console. The 3 switches are designated as Pump 1, pump 2, and pump 3. When you depress the button to turn the pump on in the manual mode, a red telltale light will come on. This indicates that the pump is running. Keep in mind that the red telltale light will come on if the pumps are running in the automatic mode. This is a good way to monitor whether or not the pumps are running. The same holds true for pumps 2 and 3 in the center aft bilge. Now we're going to talk about the console and all the various switches and controls that are mounted on the console. Before we do this though, I'd like to remind everyone to have a safety checklist. It's of paramount importance to review a checklist and make sure that you cover all the bases as far as being safe out on the water is concerned. This boat's equipped with a Mercury vessel view. It's a powerful piece of equipment that does a lot of things. The first thing that we'll need to do before we start the boat though is check your fuel level. It's right on the Mercury vessel view display, so check that. And I also will suggest highly that you review the owner's manual for the vessel view and learn all of the tricks and secrets of it so that you can use it to its best advantage. This boat's equipped with 3 400 horsepower Mercury Verados. It's very important to review the instrumentation, controls, and engine manuals before operating this vessel. This way you'll be able to operate in a safe and knowledgeable manner. To start the engines, you first connect your safety lanyard to the kill switch on the switch panel beneath the helm. It's very important to connect the safety lanyard to a belt loop or something on your life jacket. This way, if you should fall down or become disabled while running the boat, the engines will stop. Now that your lanyard's connected, you're ready to start the engines. Before you do that though, please ensure that no one's swimming near the back of the boat. Safety first, please. Now you're ready to turn the ignition keys to start the motors. To start each motor, you'll turn the key to the right. This will energize the Mercury display at the helm. Now that your engine display is live, we're ready to start the motors. To do so, you simply turn the key all the way to the right and release it. Mercury engines don't have primer bulbs, so if the boat should ever run out of gas, what you need to do is cycle the ignition on and off 3 or 4 times. You'll simply turn the ignition switch on, let it stay on for about 25 seconds, and then turn it off. After you've done that 2 or 3 times, try to start the motor. If it doesn't start, do it once or twice more, and then you should have an engine that runs. On this boat, we've got 2 9-position switch panels. There's one on the port side of the Mercury control display and another on the starboard side. These 2 switch panels control the accessories that are installed on this boat. Let's start on the port side switch panel. On the left-hand side of that, there are 3 bilge pump switches. There's a switch for bilge pump 1 in the forward compartment, 2 and 3 are in the center aft bilge. When the pumps are running, you'll see a red light energized on the switch. This is true for both automatic and manual modes. If you turn off one of the bilge pumps and the red light stays illuminated, that means that the pump is running on automatic. If it persists, you need to check the bilge to see why the pump is still running. The port side panel also has a switch called macerator. This operates a pump that evacuates water from the starboard fish box in the aft cockpit. A red light will illuminate when you turn on this macerator pump. Below the macerator pump, we have a spare switch. This can be used at a later date for installation of an aftermarket accessory. This button has a blue telltale. The next switch you'll see is the parallel switch. It's a momentary switch that allows the batteries to be paralleled. You must hold it for as long as you want the batteries to be tied together. The parallel switch comes in handy if you ever find that you have a battery that's low or in a dead state. Let's say you're out on the hook for the day and your stereo has run your batteries down. You'll be able to restart your motors by simply pressing and holding the parallel switch. That will jump the batteries together and allow you to get the engine started. In the top right-hand corner of this port side switch panel, you have your fresh water switch. The fresh water pump supplies water to the galley, the head, the anchor washdown, the freshwater washdown in the cockpit near the helm, and the freshwater shower near the dive door. Below the freshwater pump switch, you have a switch that's labeled saltwater. This energizes a saltwater washdown pump. This allows you to use seawater to wash down the cockpit if you catch a fish or have some dirt on the deck. Be sure that the seacock on the saltwater pump is open before using. Below the saltwater pump switch, you have another spare switch. This one's labeled Accessory 1. This is for aftermarket installations. Now let's go through the switches that are on the switch panel that's on the starboard side of the Mercury display at the helm. The navigation lights are turned on by pressing the nav lights button on the switch panel. The blue telltale light will come on when activated. This will activate the red and green running lights as well as the light on the anchor light mast. Just below the nav light switch, there's an anchor light switch. If you decide that you'd like to anchor at night, you'll need to turn off your nav lights and turn on your anchor light. This will illuminate your 360-degree masthead light and allow others to know that you're at anchor. The hardtop lights are 4 colors. They are energized by pressing the button 4 times to get the various colors. Spreader lights are 3 color. 1 is for white, 2 is for red, and the 3rd press will turn them on in blue. The cockpit lights are 4 color. Press once for white, twice for red, the 3rd time they'll be blue, and the 4th time they'll be violet. Next is the cabin light switch. This will turn on a courtesy light in the cabin to make it easy to enter when all of the cabin lights are off. Next, we have a switch for the windlass. This energizes the windlass circuit. We'll talk about this in depth when we go through the windlass and its operation. Below the windlass switch, we have the underwater lights. These are multicolor underwater lights. When you turn them on, you'll see the colors change. When they get to the color that you'd like to use, simply press the button again. Finally, we have the bait light switch at the bottom right-hand corner of this starboard switch panel. This turns on a light that illuminates the 2 bait wells on the aft corners. On the starboard side of the console, we have a dual switch panel that has controls for bait wells 1 and 2. These are bait wells that are part of the hooker bait well system. It's a pressurized pump that has a rheostat that allows you to control the flow of water to the 2 pumps. You turn the pumps on and then control your water flow by turning this rheostat. Now we'll talk about the operation of your windlass. The first step is to push the windlass button on the 9-position switch panel on the starboard side of your console. This will illuminate the blue light, indicating that the windlass circuit is live. Before operating your windlass, it's good practice to make sure that the clutch is tight. To do that, you'll go to your owner's bag and take the windlass handle that we've supplied to the windlass so that you can tighten the clutch. You'll insert the windlass handle into the inner hole on the top of the windlass. Once it's securely placed in that hole, you'll turn it in a clockwise direction to make sure that it's tight. Once the clutch is tight, you'll be able to pull the anchor up smoothly and securely. Tightening the clutch will also allow the anchor not to fall back into the water. The next step is to disconnect the anchor safety cable. To do this, you disconnect the safety hook that's connected to the chain. Place it to the side so that the anchor can deploy freely. There are 2 ways that you can operate your windlass. The first is to use the windlass switch panel that's at the helm. Or you can use the foot switches that are mounted forward at the windlass itself. To use the switch at the helm, you push the down button to drop the anchor and the up button to retrieve it. To deploy the anchor from the bow, you'll push the button on the port side that has the arrow that points forward. This will allow the anchor line to pay itself out. To retrieve the anchor, you'll push the button that has the arrow that points aft. This will allow the anchor line to come back into the boat and lock the anchor into the anchor chute. Be sure to reconnect your anchor safety cable after you're through using the windlass and the anchor. To do so, you'll clip it to one of the links on the anchor chain. Finally, when you're through using your windlass, be sure to turn off the windlass circuit. It's the switch at the 9-position switch panel. This boat is equipped with Valor trim tabs. To operate the tabs, you press the down buttons. That will allow the tabs to go to the down position. To bring the tabs back to the up position, you press the 2 buttons that say up. If the tabs are in the down position, when you turn off the ignition, they will automatically retract. This is especially handy when you're going onto a lift or being picked up by a forklift. The trim tab indicator on this boat is located just in front of the throttle control. The lights will illuminate for both port and starboard tabs as they go up and down. The bow thruster control panel is located to port of the steering wheel. To energize the bow thruster control panel, you'll press the square power button twice. The green telltale light will come on, which means the bow thruster is getting power. To thrust the bow to the port side, you'll press the port side of the switch. To thrust the bow to the starboard side, you press the button on the starboard side of the switch. Keep in mind that it's best to operate the bow thruster in short bursts. If you run it for a long interval, there's a possibility that the motor could overheat. Also, the bow thruster will time itself out after a period of inactivity. If this should happen, simply press the power button twice and it'll be ready to use again. The bow thruster motor is located underneath a removable hatch that's just forward of the table pedestal in the cabin. This boat has a tilt helm. To adjust the steering wheel position, simply press the tab and you can move the wheel fore and aft. We've also included a power knob on the steering wheel. This allows you to turn the wheel quickly in tight quarters. This boat's equipped with Mercury's latest and greatest throttle control. It has two handles and controls all three motors. It's called the shadow control. When you're shifting against each motor in tight quarters to maneuver, the two handles operate those two motors, the two outside motors. When you're in forward, you have the option of using two handles to throttle all three motors, or using the one lever control. That allows you to turn off the other lever and use one to operate all three engines. There are two handles on the control. Port handle has one switch that allows you to trim all three engines up at the same time. There's an up and down position on that switch. On the front of the control, there are three individual momentary switches that allow you to operate the engine trim individually. So if you wanted to trim one of the engines up by itself, you'd hit one of these three buttons. Moving back, we have a sync button. The sync button allows all the engines to run at the same speed. We have a transfer button. Transfer button is applicable to boats with second stations. So that would be a boat that had an upper station. You'd be using that. We have a one lever control that allows you to use one lever to throttle all three engines. To get to the one lever position, you need to be able to take all engines back to neutral, then hit one lever. That allows you to put the other handle out of the way and just throttle using one engine. Throttle only allows you to run the engines at a speed above idle if it's ever necessary. And dock control allows you to dock the boat and not exceed a certain RPM threshold. Basically, you won't over rev when you're docking. For complete information on your Mercury system, please read the owner's manuals that we've included in your owner's packet. There'll be something on the motors, the throttle control, and the gauge as well. Located beneath the throttle control on this boat, we've installed the fire suppression indicator panel. When the green telltale light is illuminated, this indicates that the system is armed and protecting the generator compartment. If there's ever an emergency situation on the boat and the fire suppression system deploys itself, a red light will appear on the indicator panel. This is an emergency situation that needs to be dealt with immediately. If there's ever an emergency situation where there's a fire in the bilge and the automatic suppression system doesn't deploy itself, you can also manually set off the fire suppression system. To do so, you'll break the seal, pull the pin, and then manually pull the T-handle that says fire aft. That will set off the fire suppression system manually. It's really important to familiarize yourself with all of the safety systems on your Intrepid. That's especially so with this fire suppression system. Now let's talk about the dockside or generator control panel that's down in the cabin. On the top left-hand corner of the panel, we have a slider switch that allows you to select whether you want to use your shore power or your generator power. At the moment, we're on shore power. So the shore main is turned on and our AC volt panel is showing 122 volts. The amperage draw will display on the meter that says AC amps. If you were to decide to go to generator power, you turn off the shore main, slide the safety panel up, and then turn on the generator. You'll receive a reading for your voltage and your amperage once the generator's running. We'll touch on generator power in the generator section. So, on shore power, we have the various appliances. Breakers are located beneath the shore main switch. You have galley refrigerator. When you'd like to operate that on shore power, you'll energize that switch. Green telltale light will come on. That means that the refrigerator is working on shore power. There's also a battery power option. We'll talk about that when we get to that panel. We also have a water heater breaker. Water heater, you turn it on. You need to make sure your freshwater system is turned on at the helm so that there's water in the water heater tank. Beneath the water heater we have a spare circuit. That's available for aftermarket installations after the boat goes into service. Beneath that we have the interior outlets breaker. That supplies power to your microwave and the outlets that are installed in the boat. Our next column of breakers has a battery charger number 1 at the top. Battery charger number 2 is at the top of the next column. These are the 2 battery chargers that charge the 5 batteries that are installed in this boat. Once the breaker's turned on and you're plugged into shore power or on generator power, there's nothing else you need to do. Beneath the battery charger, in the center column, we have the air conditioning. Air conditioning circuit is energized when the green light is on. There's a control panel that allows for its operation. The remainder of the breakers are spares that are available for aftermarket installations once the boat goes into service. Now we're getting ready to connect to shore power. I have a 30 amp shore power cord that I'll plug in under the gunnel and then we'll plug into the dock. The very first step that you'll need to follow is to be sure that your shore power breaker in the cabin switch panel is in the off position. Now you'll loosen the cap on the receptacle under the gunnel, lift it, and then plug in your shore power cord. Once it's in, you'll turn it 1/8 of a turn to lock it in place, and then you'll tighten the locking ring that threads onto the fixture. You're now ready to plug your boat into the dockside shore power. When your boat is plugged into shore power, you'll have your shore power breaker turned on, and that will indicate the voltage that is available. Now that you know you have shore power to your panel, you can begin to use the accessories that are installed in your Intrepid. To disconnect your Intrepid from shore power, you'll first need to turn off all the accessories that you've been using. Once that's been done, you'll turn off your shore power main breaker. Your next step will be to unplug your dockside shore power connection. Once that's done, you can get aboard the boat and disconnect the power cord from the receptacle under the gunnel. To do that, you'll unscrew the locking ring, Twist the plug and pull it aft. When your power cord is removed, you want to be sure to close the receptacle. To do that, you want to line up the cover with the threads on the ship's side receptacle, closing it securely so that water does not protrude into the receptacle. As an added safety feature, we've installed an ELCI circuit breaker. This reduces the risk of injury from stray electrical currents. When the ELCI is set, there will be a green telltale illuminated. If there's a red light illuminated on the ELCI box, this means that there is a reverse polarity situation in the shore power system. This is a dangerous condition that needs to be fixed immediately by a qualified marine technician. Now let's talk about the AC outlets that we've installed in your Intrepid. One's in the galley, just after the refrigerator, and the other is in the head compartment, just above the counter. To use these, you'll need to first make sure that you have either shore power or generator power supplied to the boat, and then you'll turn on your AC outlets. It says outlets interior. When the green light is illuminated, your outlets are ready to use. To test the GFCI breaker, you'll press the black button that's next to the red button. The red button will pop out. You'll reset it and hear a slight beep. Once the green light is illuminated, that means that the GFCI breaker is operating properly. You're ready to use this outlet now. This boat is equipped with a 5 kW Fisher Panda diesel generator. Please keep in mind that 5 kilowatts was the proper amount of power for the equipment installed when the boat was ordered and built. There's an in-depth owner's manual for the Fisher Panda generator included in your owner's packet. Please review it for operation of the generator and all of its safety features. For the generator to operate properly, it will need to have a constant supply of raw water. That supply of raw water will come through a sea valve that is located in the center aft bilge. The hose that takes the water from the sea valve to the generator also has a raw water strainer installed in it. Both the sea valve and raw water strainer located in the center aft bilge need to be clear of any obstructions. The very first step of operating your generator properly and safely is to turn on the generator blower. There's a switch located just after the refrigerator inside the doorway that leads out into the cockpit. This blower will evacuate any gasoline fumes that may be in the bilges. It's good to let it run for at least 5 minutes before starting the generator and throughout the time that you're running the generator. Now let me give you the basics of the operation of your generator. The very first step that you need to follow is to make sure that your generator breaker on your shore power panel is in the off position. After that, you'll go to the Fisher Panda supplied P4 panel. You can energize the generator system by pushing the power button. After that, you'll be able to start it. I always like to let the generator run for a minute or so before I start to use appliances that are connected to it. So after that minute or so has elapsed, you'll simply press the generator breaker to the on position, and you'll see that you have voltage on the AC volt panel that's above the switches on the panel. After you've energized the main breaker for the generator, you'll be able to begin using the appliances that are installed on the boat. When you're through using your generator, you'll simply follow the opposite of the procedure you used to turn it on. You'll first switch off all the accessories that you've selected. Next, you'll turn off the generator main power breaker. Now you're ready to head to your Fisher Panda control panel. Let it run for that extra minute so that the system can cool down before you actually turn off the generator. Once you've done that, you can press the stop button to turn off the system. Please keep in mind that the generator and house loads are both connected to the same battery. These switches must both be in the on position to operate the generator. We've equipped this boat with an 18-gallon diesel fuel tank. This will run the 5 kW Panda generator. The fill's located on the starboard side under the gunnel just behind the end of the bow rail, underneath a small hatch that's cut into the gunnel. To open it, simply press the center, a tab will pop up, and then you spin the cap to access your diesel fuel. There is a fuel filter mounted on the bulkhead on the starboard side of the generator compartment. This is the primary filter for the generator. There's a fuel isolation valve right next to it. When you change the filter, you'll want to close that valve. Please refer to your Fisher Panda Owner's Manual for complete details on its fuel system and operation. Now let's talk about the Dometic air conditioning system that we've installed in your Intrepid. The first step to proper operation is to make sure that the air conditioning circuit breaker on the panel is turned on. Your green telltale light will come on when it's energized. The next step you'll need to follow is to make sure that you have a constant flow of seawater flowing through the air conditioning system. The supply pump is located in the machinery space that's just forward of the console. You'll see the pump and a seawater strainer located in that area. You'll need to make sure that the valve that goes through the bottom of the boat is open, and also determine that the seawater strainer is clear of any obstructions. Once you've determined that you have a good flow of water going through the air conditioning system, you'll come into the cabin and access the Dometic control panel. It's located in the galley area, just above the countertop. To operate the Dometic control panel, you'll first press the power button that's in the upper left-hand corner of the panel. This will give you a display of the temperature in the cabin. To adjust the temperature in the cabin, you'll simply press the up or down arrows to get to the temperature you'd like to achieve. For complete information on the use and operation of your Dometic air conditioning system, please refer to the Owner's Manual in your Owner's Packet. This boat's equipped with an isotherm refrigerator that will work on either shore power, generator power, or on battery power. This means you'll be able to use the refrigerator either on shore power or generator power in the AC mode. To do that, you'll select Cabin Refrigerator on the switch panel above the microwave. If you're not plugged into the dock and are not running the generator, you can also run the refrigerator on DC power. To do that, you'll energize a switch that's just inside the cabin door. It's on a small switch panel with the blower switch. When operating on 12-volt DC power, your circuit will be protected by a pop-out breaker that's on the port side of the console. It's labeled Cabin Fridge. We've given you the basics of your refrigerator. For additional information on its use and maintenance, you'll want to refer to your Isotherm Owner's Manual in your Owner's Packet. The overhead cabin lights are controlled by a rocker switch that's just inside the companionway door. The overhead cabin lighting is dimmable. To dim it, you'll start from dark and then double press the switch to get the desired level of lighting that you'd like. To take them to full power, you'll turn them off and just let themselves ramp all the way up to the brightest level. There are 3 step lights that are installed in the stairway that goes into the cabin. These are controlled by the switch on the switch panel at the helm. These are great to use if you have someone traveling forward at night without any lights on in the cabin. The 345 Valor offers pull-down shades. They're great for privacy in a marina or at anchor. Now let's talk about cabin storage. We have plentiful storage in this 345 Valor. Starting at the front of the cabin, you have a space forward of the settee that allows you to store your bedding. As you move aft, under the cushions for the settee, you have plentiful storage spaces with starboard inserts that close them off and allow the cushion to sit on the top. Moving into the galley, you have a nice space underneath the sink. There's a slide-out garbage can and 2 drawers that complement the area aft of below the refrigerator. Just above the refrigerator, you have a small cupboard that is great for storing kitchen goods. Under the microwave and above the sink in the galley, you have a wonderful cubby for storing those things that you just don't want to put away, but you want to have them fast at hand. One of my favorite features on the 345 Valor is the way that the cabin settee is convertible to a sleeping area. The table retracts and extends with the touch of a button, and there's a cushion that fills the top of it so that you have a large sleeping area. To access the switch that allows the table to raise and lower, you simply open the locker door under the galley sink. You'll see the switch on the left-hand side of that area under the sink. To lower the table, touch the bottom of the rocker switch. Keep in mind that there can be no arms and legs beneath the table while it is going into the down position. Make sure there was no one seated at the table or nothing else impeding underneath while it's being put down. Once the table is in the fully down position, you'll be able to insert the cushion that we've supplied and make it into a sleeping area. To raise the table, you press the top of the rocker switch until it is all the way up in the fully upward position. We've supplied a Corian cover for the galley sink. To use the faucet, simply pull up the spout and you can control your hot and cold water feeds. Be sure that your fresh water pump switch is turned on if you'd like to use the galley sink. We've installed 3 overhead opening hatches in the 345 Valor. They're made by Bomar and they operate by opening the black latches. Simply turn them to the open position, then push up on the hatch and a gas spring will assist its opening and hold it in the open position. There's one that opens forward, one that opens aft. Those 2 are over the sleeping area in the cabin, and there's one in the head compartment as well. To close them, simply reverse the process and make sure that they're dogged down properly so you don't have any leaks if it rains. This is the Zintex carbon monoxide detector that we've installed in this boat. This unit will detect carbon monoxide molecules if there should be any. If there are, a shrill alarm will sound. Please refer to the owner's manual for complete instructions on this carbon monoxide detector. The companionway door on the 345 Valor is a pocket door. It slides to starboard to open it. Simply press the latch, slide it over to the starboard side, and there's a magnet that holds it in place in the open position. To close it, you simply push it over to the port side and allow it to catch on the catch that's in the door frame. To lock the door, you simply insert the key that came in your owner's packet, turn it in an anti-clockwise rotation. That locks the door. To open it, you'll reinsert the key into the lock and turn it fully clockwise until it stops. That allows you to release the lock and open the door. The manufacturer of this lock has had a couple of phone calls over the years from some of their customers who've locked themselves out of their cabin. To prevent this, now what you do is, when you take the key out and leave the door in the unlocked position, leave the key at the 12 o'clock position. If you'd like to lock the cabin from the inside, simply take the key out of the lock when it's at the 9 o'clock position. If you're in the cabin and you'd like to lock the door so that no one can come in, you'll simply slide the black panel up so that the red dot disappears. To unlock it, you'll simply slide it down. Be able to open the door that way. Once again though, to ensure that you don't lock the cabin door inadvertently, please leave the key in the 12 o'clock position when you're unlocking it. The head compartment on the 345 Valor is located at the base of the companionway steps. You'll open this door to find the head compartment. There's a toilet, sink, ample storage compartments, medicine cabinet above the sink. You'll find a Raritan toilet control panel and an AC vent and a plug for your convenience. In the aft corner of the vanity countertop, you'll find the temperature control for the shower, which is located just above the toilet inside the door. This mixing valve allows you to adjust the temperature of the water coming from the shower. Next to the cabinet door that opens under the sink, you'll find two switches. The upper switch is the light switch that turns the light on and off in the head compartment. The overhead light is dimmable, so you'll do a double press on it to adjust the level of lighting that you desire. Beneath that, you'll see another rocker switch that goes on and off. That operates the blower, gives you some fresh air in the head compartment. Moving aft on the face of the cabinetry, you'll find a door that opens to expose the Y valve that allows you to divert the waste coming from the toilet either into the tank or overboard. The Y valve operation will be explained in detail when we go through the operation of the Raritan head system. Before operating the Raritan toilet, please be sure that it has power. To do this, you'll energize the house battery switch on the switch panel on the port side of the console. In the head compartment, just beneath the AC vent, you'll find the Raritan toilet flush control. There are 4 basic modes for this toilet to operate. The first is the water saver mode. Press this area to use this mode. Next, you can use the water only mode. Press that area to do that. Then you can use normal flush, which is the basic operation and most popular one that everyone will use. You can also use the empty only position on the switch panel. The empty only is good to use when you are in rough sea and you don't want to have water splashing around in the bowl. There's also a telltale light on the bottom of the panel to indicate when the holding tank is full. When it's illuminated, you'll need to pump the tank out. The rest of the waste equipment is located in the bilge compartment just aft of the companionway, forward of the console. Outboard of the toilet, on the face of the cabinetry beneath the vanity countertop, you'll find a Y valve behind a plexiglass door. This is a valve that operates in two positions. It will either discharge waste through the through hull that goes through the bottom of the boat, or it will divert it into the holding tank. To be legal in U.S. waters, you must have the waste diverting into the holding tank. Our factory setting is to seal it into that position so that it's legal in U.S. waters. In the machinery space, after the companionway door, you'll see that there's a switch for a discharge pump. It's mounted just beneath a yellow plaque that reminds you that the discharge through hull needs to be open when pumping the waste tank. This momentary switch has a pop-out breaker located right next to it on a small switch panel that's mounted on the hatch combing. This operates the pump out for the waste tank. If you're in international waters, you can use this button to pump the waste tank over the side. To do that, you'll make sure that the valve that is going through the bottom of the boat is in the open position. This is with the handle on this valve totally vertical. You'll press the button and that will empty the contents of the waste holding tank through that valve. In the aft inboard corner of the head compartment, you'll see a shower wand. This is on an adjustable bar that has a hose that runs to the wand. You can remove the wand to shower more freely. The flow and temperature of the water going through the shower wand are controlled by a mixing valve that is on the countertop in the aft corner of the vanity cabinet. You lift and rotate this mixing valve to control the temperature and flow of the water. The shower water that collects in the shower pan in the head compartment runs into a sump pump that's located in the machinery space just behind the cabin door. This is on all the time, automatic. So whenever you use your shower, the water that runs from the shower into the sump pan will pump over the side. After the cabin door, we have a machinery space. It's in here that we've installed all the systems for the boat. On the port side of this space, we have the Dometic condenser for the air conditioning system. There's some ductwork that connects to this and provides the cooled air that goes into the cabin. Just behind that, we have the Dometic primetime pump. This is a pump that has a strainer on it and connects to a C-valve that allows you to have your cooling water for the air conditioning system. On the aft bulkhead, at the top, we have the fresh water pump along with the 3M filter that provides water to all the freshwater taps on the boat. The water filter that we've installed is a 3M HF40. I recommend changing this on a semi-annual basis. Beneath that, we have the high water alarm on a small shelf that's just above the bilge pump with the float switch for that bilge pump just forward of that. In the center of the bilge, we have the shower sump system. This collects the water from the shower and discharges it over the side. On the forward bulkhead, we have the waste macerator pump. This is the pump that empties the holding tank. It connects to a valve that's located on the port forward corner of this space. This is where the waste discharges if you're set to the overboard position on the toilet or if you're emptying the holding tank using the macerator pump. On the starboard side, we have the switch for the macerator pump for the waste system. There's a small pop-out breaker right next to that if the pump pops the breaker, you just push it in to reset it. Beneath that, we have the holding tank itself. This is a 14-gallon holding tank that has a gauge on it. On the back end of the holding tank, you'll note that there's a small black sensor glued to the outside of the tank. This is the sensor that signals that the tank has filled itself. There's a small telltale light on the Raritan toilet control panel in the head compartment that will light when the tank is full. The 345 Valor has a wonderful area forward of the console. It has a slide-out sun pad on the starboard side, great access to the batteries and the machinery under the console, on the front of the console, and then on the port side we have some storage for you. The starboard side of the L seat slides inboard to give you more of a lounging area. First you release the latch, then grasp it underneath and pull it aft. There's a sliding bolt that secures it in the open position as well. To slide it back to the normal position, you'll simply slide the latch aft and then push the cushion outboard till the stripes line up, and then reset your latch over here. The lift-up hatch on the front of the console gives you access to your batteries, battery chargers, battery switches, and all of the electrical connections. On the port side of the forward seating area, we have a storage bin for you. You'll remove the cushion, then lift the hatch to expose a nice lined area with a drain. It's a great spot for life jackets, lines, whatever you need a spot to store. We've provided a fold-out garbage can on this boat. To open it, simply turn the latch, folds out on a gas spring, gives you a nice sized trash bin. This boat's equipped with our Ocean Elite HELM seat. It's a wonderful seat that provides seating for 2 passengers, has folding armrests, a folding bolster that allows the helmsman to stand at the helm and have plenty of space in between him and the seat, and a footrest that folds down. Our Ocean Elite seat has an electric actuator that brings it forward so the helmsman can have a more comfortable position at the wheel. We've protected the circuit on the Ocean Elite HELM seat using a 15-amp prop-out breaker that's located under the battery switches on the side of the switch panel in the console. On the port and starboard side of the Ocean Elite HELM seat, we've provided 2 drawers. On the aft side of the Ocean Elite HELM seat, we've provided a great handrail that allows you to stand and hold on while the boat's underway. There are 3 rod holders and 2 rod cup holders on this boat. We've got a storage space for Plano boxes underneath the mechanism that allows the seat to travel fore and aft. And we also have space for a pull-out cooler underneath the seat. On the 345 Valor, we've installed an actuated helm platform. This allows the helmsman to enhance his line of sight while underway. To operate the platform, you'll touch the top of the rocker switch to have the platform raise. To lower it, you'll touch the bottom of the rocker switch. The rocker switch that is to starboard of the platform rocker switch operates the starboard side seat. You press the top of this button to have the seat raise, and to lower it, you'll press the lower part of the switch. Once the seat is raised, you'll see a fiberglass hatch set into the deck. Under that hatch, you'll find the hot water heater. This is a good area for installing electronics components. We do not recommend using this area for storage. Once the fiberglass hatch is back in place and secured, this area under the seat that raises might be a good spot for storing certain equipment like life jackets or fenders. Under the starboard gunnel, we have a receptacle into which you can plug a freshwater washdown hose. Simply slide the black cap over, insert the blue receptacle, and you have a freshwater washdown hose. To use this, you'll need to turn on the freshwater switch on the console switch panel. Under the port gunnel, we have a receptacle for the raw water washdown hose. To use it, you simply slide the black cover over and then insert the blue hose end into the receptacle, and you're ready to use your raw water washdown. To use this, you need to be sure to turn on your saltwater pump switch at the switch panel on the console. On the starboard side of the cockpit, we have a good-sized compartment that's a fish box. There's a macerator pump that's connected to this, so if water should get in there, you'll be able to drain it using the macerator button on the 9-position switch panel. The macerator pump for the fish box is located in the starboard aft compartment. This is a hatch that opens just behind the fish box. The macerator pump is in there, as well as the ELCI circuit protection system. This will be explained further in detail in another section of this manual. The generator compartment contains the 5 kW Panda generator, its fuel system, cooling system, and muffler. This area is protected by the Fireboy fire suppression system. The port aft compartment in the cockpit, just behind the dive door, is where the raw water washdown pump is located. You'll see the pump as well as a raw water filter installed in that area. Forward of that is the area where the dive ladder folds out of. Moving forward from the dive ladder compartment, we have a bilge compartment that has a through hull installed, which is the GenSep through hull. The GenSep is a box that's mounted under the gunnel that will separate the exhaust gases and water from the generator exhaust. The water discharges through the bottom of the boat in this compartment. Forward of that, we have a bilge compartment just beneath the garbage can that folds out, which is suitable for storage. It's a good sized space that can be used for fenders or lines or what other accessories you might need to store. Now we'll run through all the systems and components that are mounted in the center aft bilge compartment. Let's start with the mercury fuel system. You'll see 3 fuel water separators mounted on the bulkhead in this compartment. These are fuel filters that will separate water that may be in the fuel from the gasoline. There's also an isolation valve that allows you to turn off the flow of gasoline when you're changing these filters. Below the fuel filters, we have the generator raw water intake. There's a seacock installed with a raw water strainer connected to that. This raw water strainer must be clear all the time to make sure that you have a clean flow of water to the generator. Above that, and on the starboard side of this compartment, we have the mercury steering pump. This is a steering pump that's installed within the black capsule that's in the front corner of the starboard side of this bilge area. As we move aft, we have 2 automatic bilge pumps with their float switches mounted in the aft section of this compartment. These are always energized on the automatic circuit. On the port side, beneath the gas filters, we have the seacock for the raw water washdown. This should stay on if you'd like to use your raw water pump. If you're not going to be using the raw water pump, it's a good idea to shut it off. In the center of this compartment, we have the hooker bait well system. This is basically a sea chest that supplies the 2 corner bait wells that are in the aft cockpit. there are seacocks that turn off the flow of water into the sea chest. If you're not using them, it's a good idea to keep them closed. There's a switch for each pump mounted on the console. Please refer to the hooker manual that's in your owner's packet for full information on this system. You must keep in mind that gasoline is a very volatile substance. If there are ever any fumes or vapors present, you must find out where they're coming from and deal with the source of that before you proceed any further. On the starboard side of the console, we have a dual switch panel that has controls for bait wells 1 and 2. These are bait wells that are part of the hooker bait well system. It's a pressurized pump that has a rheostat that allows you to control the flow of water to the 2 pumps. You turn the pumps on and then control your water flow by turning this rheostat. The bottom drain assembly has a plug in the center of it. It allows you to turn off the drain so that water stays in the bait well. The flow valve that is just below the light has an adjustable center so that you can control the amount of water that is coming into the bait well. There's a drain that is also adjustable by turning the center of the fixture. You'll be able to control the level of water and create equilibrium between the flow valve and upper drain. The raw water supply for the hooker bait well pumps are the 2 seacocks that are located just behind the pump. Standard equipment on this boat is the swing-in dive door. This is a really nice feature because the door pulls up, swings in, and opens over the gunnel so you don't lose any deck space. To open the door, first you'll need to release the latch. That's done by pulling down on the spring pin that acts as a safety to keep the latch latched when you're underway. Next, you'll slide the bolt up and then move it forward. Then you'll pull up on the door to pop it up and swing the door open to the over the gunnel position. We've installed a magnet to hold the door in the open position. To close the door, you'll swing it back into the door jamb, push down on the top of the door so that it lines the latch up. Then you'll slide the latch aft so that its pin goes into the receiver, and then you'll make sure that the safety spring pin is in the detent in which it locks. Now let's talk about the aluminum swim ladder that folds out from beneath the hatch that's just inside the hull side door. To access the swim ladder, you'll open the hatch that's just inside the dive door by spinning the T-handle. Once the hatch is open, you'll look down and see your swim ladder. To pull it out, you'll need to pull straight up on it. This allows it to swing out and over the side. The second stage of the ladder gets folded down for deeper access into the water. To retrieve the ladder, you'll fold the second stage up onto the ladder that's going to fold into the boat. Then you'll pick up on it, raise it, and let it go into the space that it came out of. Once it's into its space, close the hatch, lock the T-handle, and you're ready to go. As a standard feature on all Intrepids, we install a fold-out swim ladder on one of the swim platforms. This allows for access to the boat if you should fall over the side. It's a safety precaution, You'll be able to swim up to the ladder, deploy it, and get back into the boat. To use the ladder, you simply push the locking pin away from the ladder and pull aft on it. Then fold down the 3 stages. The ladder's ready to use now. To put the ladder back in place, you'll fold the 3 stages together, lift up on its aft end, then push it into position, and make sure that the locking pin is deployed securely. In the aft cockpit of this boat, we've installed a folding rear seat. To open it, you release the latch on the top and pull the handle on the front. The seat opens in one motion. The seat has a very nice angle to the backrest, and there's also a knee roll on the front of the base cushion. This gives you a very comfortable seating position. To close the seat, you lift up on the front section, allow the top to fall down, and then latch it. 1, 2, 3, you're ready to roll. This boat's equipped with a 320-gallon gasoline tank. The fill for the gas tank is located on the port gunnel just behind the bow rail. You'll lift the small fiberglass hatch that's cut into the gunnel to expose the fuel fill. To open it, you'll press the center of the cap to expose a small tab. That tab will allow you to turn the cap out. Be careful to remove the cap slowly, as there may be pressure built up inside the tank. Before replacing your gas cap, it's always a good idea to inspect the O-ring that seals it. This O-ring is very important. It's what keeps water out of the gas tank. Once you've filled the tank, you'll replace the cap in the deck fill hardware mounted on deck. You'll see 2 red arrows that correspond to each other when the cap is in the closed position. Please be sure to line up these 2 red arrows when closing it. The 345 Valor is equipped with a 320-gallon fuel capacity. Before taking a trip, it's always important to make sure that you have plenty of gasoline on board. Your vessel view display gives you lots of information. At the moment, we'll focus on determining our fuel level though. To do that, you'll click on the engine icon, and this boat is set up so that you have 139 gallons of gasoline showing and 15 gallons of diesel fuel showing. The water fill for the 345 Valor is located on the port side just above the top step that goes to the foredeck. To open the water fill, you'll press on the center of the cap to expose the tab that allows you to have something to turn it with. You'll turn it, take it out, let it hang on its wire retainer. Now you're ready to fill the water tank. You'll fill the water tank by putting a hose from the dock into the fitting. Once the tank is full, you'll replace the water cap, making sure that you line up the 2 red arrows on the cap itself. The waste tank pump out hardware is located on the starboard side gunnel, just aft of the end of the bow rail. You'll lift a small hatch that's in the gunnel, and you'll see the waste hardware. To open it, you'll simply press the center of the cap and then unscrew it. And you'll have access to the tank. Please be careful, as there's no chain on this cap. Don't want to see you lose it overboard. Once the contents of the tank are evacuated, you'll want to replace the cap securely. Tighten it all the way down. Flip the tab down and close the hatch. This is our freshwater flushing system for the engines. You'll first open the door, then you'll see a hose connection. First step is to remove the plug that's in the hose connection. You'll insert a garden hose into this fitting here. Once it's connected to the garden hose, you will select which engine you'd like to flush first. For instance, if you'd like to do the starboard engine, you'll turn the selector valve to starboard. It's a good idea to let the water run long enough while flushing the motor so that the water coming out is as cold as the water going in. You'll want to return the valve to the off position. Once you've done that, you'll turn off the water supply from the dock and then remove the garden hose from the receptacle in the bottom of the flush box. After you've done that, be sure to replace the black cap into the hose receptacle. Now your engines have been flushed. Now let's review the deck hardware on this 345 Valor. We'll start with the 6 Euro-style pull-up cleats that we've installed. To use them, you simply pull them up and wrap your line around them. We've installed 4 of the Intrepid fender clips. These are very handy. You tie your fender painter to the clip, and then you're able to keep your line on the fender set at whatever level you like. When you're through using your fenders, simply press on the top of the clip and remove it with the fender and line set at whatever level you like, and stow it for your next use. This boat's equipped with a number of Mate Series stainless steel rod cup holders. These are a very handy piece of hardware, and they're very versatile. You can use them for either a drink or a fishing pole. This boat's equipped with an integral fiberglass rod rack across the stern. It's a fiberglass rod rack in which we've installed 7 gem rod holders. On the aft end of the fiberglass hardtop, we've installed a 7-gang powder-coated aluminum rod rack on this boat. To make it easy to go under bridges, we've installed a piece of hardware that allows you to lower your anchor light. To do that, you simply crank it and the light will come down. Now let's talk about through hulls. These are the ports through which water discharges on the sides of the hull. I'll explain where each one of them is and what their purpose is. The 2 most forward stainless steel through hulls are the anchor locker drains. If water gets into your anchor locker, it'll drain through these 2 ports. There's one on each side. Moving aft, we have the galley sink drain and a drain for the sump, just behind it. Just forward of the step in the bottom, on the port side, we have the discharge for the bilge pump that's in the forward compartment, as well as the air conditioning discharge. They're both set into the boot stripe. Below the fuel fill on the port side, we have the vents for the gasoline tank. Just forward of the hull side door, we have a stainless steel through hull in the boot stripe, which drains the trough in which the HELM platform is installed. This allows water that gets in there when washing down to evacuate itself. On the stern, just outboard of the trim tabs on both the port and starboard side, we have two drains with rubber flappers in them. The rubber flappers allow water not to get up into the drain if you're backing down on them. One's for the bait well, one's for the cockpit scupper. On the starboard stern quarter, we have 4 stainless steel through hulls mounted just forward of the swim platform. 2 of them are for bilge pumps. One's for a macerator pump for the fish box, and the other one is a vent for the hooker sea chest as part of the hooker bait well system. On the starboard side of the boat, just below the rub rail amidships, we have 3 vents. These vents are for the diesel tank and the waste system. On the boot stripe, just forward of the step on the starboard side, we have a discharge for the shower sump system and a relief for the air conditioning. Moving forward on the starboard side, we have the drain for the sink in the head compartment. This stainless steel fitting is installed in the boot stripe.